let's call the meeting to order. We have a quorum present. And I don't know if we need to do roll call, but we can start with Pete Murphy. Just say present.
All right, present.
All right, great. Chris Berglund, present. Ray Burkhalter.
Present.
All right, Paul Bonson.
Present.
And Mary Foley.
Present.
Great. Do I need to? Do I need to go back and read the thing about this being a virtual meeting? I probably do.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good try, Chris.
Great news. Now I gotta go.
Well, we
find
had
it.
to agree to it before we signed in, so.
We had to agree to a recording.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing.
Gotcha.
So let me see if I can find the statement, because I don't even remember. Well, I do remember it, but I don't remember where I have it necessarily. But it was a good try. Thanks, Ray. I do appreciate that. Read prior to meeting. Here we go. Okay. If my Windows 7 computer fires up here, here we go. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Okay. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so in the following manner. See the Zoom address that is posted in the agenda that is on our town website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. Okay, great. With that, the agenda, I did save a bunch of stuff up to the drive. I didn't really give anybody any notice of that, but I think you get pinged when that new folder is opened with you having access. So hopefully that's there, but the agenda's in there. We do have minutes that Ray Burkhalter circulated that were wonderful from the meeting of September 12th. And I would look for a motion to approve those, if there is one forthcoming.
Move to approve.
Great, thanks. Do we have a second?
Second.
Great, thanks, Mary. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, that's unanimous, so the record
Sorry,
shows it's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, we need a roll call on all the votes.
On all the votes, okay, thank you. Okay,
Right,
Pete Murphy,
aye.
okay, Ray Burkhalter,
Aye.
Mary Foley,
Aye.
Paul Bonson,
Aye.
Chris Berglund, aye. So again, unanimous. I figured if it was unanimous, I didn't think that was necessary, but thanks for correcting me. Okay, second order of business, capital requests, review and vote on capital requests submitted for the October 2022 town meeting. I don't know what the most efficient way to do this is, but there is a spreadsheet that I loaded up to the drive that I had just put together of everything that came in, as well as all the detailed background that we have for all the capital requests. So we can go in order by what's on that sheet, which basically distinguishes all the DPW requests, or details all the DPW requests first, of which I have 2, 4, 6 requests from the DPW. And then I have 3 requests also in the from the fire department. So we can take them one at a time, and Paul Bonson, we will look to you for your strong recommendations on the or input on the DPW requests, as well as our town administrator is also joining us today, which is great. And I know she would probably have some input as well. So that said, DPW replace truck 2.
Yeah, Chris, if I could ask for a couple of generalities before we get started with
Yep,
this.
sure.
What's your intention? Do you want to just review them all and then vote? Or do you want to assume we vote a different day? What's your expectation?
I think we should probably review and vote them as we go. Or, I mean, we could certainly, well, let's do this. It probably makes more sense to just go through them, get all of, make sure we have all the information we need so that we can vote on these. If there are some that we don't have all the information on, we can go back and revisit. We can, go out and try to get that additional information. But if we have the information, let's cast a vote at the time. Does that make sense?
So you're saying at the end of the reviews?
Yeah, at the end of the reviews, we'll go through figuring what we have. We'll determine whether it's worthy of a vote tonight or not. And if it is, then once we reviewed everything, we'll vote.
And from our last meeting, there were two asks that we know are not present. One
Correct.
was from the schools for the boiler and one from the library for their boiler.
Correct.
Are we expecting those? Is that going to be part of this town meeting or is it going to be later? What's your understanding?
Not part of this town meeting. The schools are working for whether it be green communities or some grant process, whether that will be forthcoming for Springtown meeting or not. I mean, that may come before us at that time. That's 200,000. Well, if they don't get it, we're going to have to fund it at that time. And the libraries, not there. I did try to call Anna. I haven't heard back from her. I didn't do that until today, and she was not in today. So I haven't heard back, but apparently she has communicated to the town administrator that Eversource is off the table for any funding on that
For any
boiler.
funding?
Any funding. That's what her communication was to Jennifer. Jennifer, you want to clarify that or add to it or?
Sure. They've been funding some studies, but not funding, excuse me, the replacement. I have a meeting later this week with the consultant that's been working on this, but it's regardless, it wouldn't be ripe yet for this town meeting. So I'm gonna understand more about what this project is and whether Eversource really is in or out this Thursday, but it would not be for this town meeting.
Okay, well, I guess for your information, I mean, it was our understanding when we embarked on this whole process, or when we had Anna embarked on it, and Pete, you were intimately involved, or more intimately than most of us with Rise Engineering. One of the, I guess, for lack of a better term, one of the enticements for us was that Eversource would be looking at this as a pet project for the electrification of municipal buildings. And in that discussion, they had said that there was going to be some type of a reimbursement or a grant opportunity for a certain dollar amount per kilowatt hour of generation. So that was our understanding at the time. I guess without that, I'm not sure that this is a viable project for us, but that's something we can look at, but down the road.
Thank you for that. That'll be helpful.
Yeah. So, all right, good.
I think it was more about a ton of based on the HVAC system tonnage. And it was something in the order of $2,000 per ton. And we had a 50-ton system. Was the more specific numbers they were talking about. So, so we were talking about $100,000, we thought. Don't know where it went.
At least, yeah, that will be disappointing if that's
This
not.
is all in flux. I mean, the state is trying to figure out what they're doing. And we've got, new state rules that are coming. So it is in flux.
Yeah, well, it would just be disappointing if that's the case, because then, I mean, because I know we just, didn't we just funded part of the spec
did.
piece with some ARPA funds, so I mean,
We,
we could,
in order to write a specification, that's right.
yeah, so in order, if that funding's not coming, I mean, I guess, is it worth continuing that?
Well,
Well,
or there may
yeah.
be other funding because the state,
Okay.
again, green communities is supposed to go away because it was funding basically natural gas projects, efficiency in natural gas projects. That's supposed to go away, and then it's to be replaced with something that's going to do these conversions from natural gas to heat pumps.
Okay,
How fast that's going to happen, when that funding is going to be available, that's still up in the air. That's right.
okay, great, thanks, Pete. So I don't know, Ray, does that help you? I mean, these projects are not on the town, are not on the warrant for October,
Yeah.
but they haven't gone away from our capital, near-term capital requests either.
Yeah, no, and it's helpful. I'm obviously most curious about what feedback we're getting from Anna and how solid that is. And I think, as we all know, that entire communication cycle with the number of players involved has been difficult.
Yep.
I think pretty much covers it. So,
Yep.
And there've been a lot of miscommunications before. So I hope the current statement that we're getting nothing is also miscommunication, but we'll see.
All right. Okay. Good. Thanks. Anything else before we get going on some of these specific items?
I just one thing I would just offer for us to keep in the back of our mind, if we were to fund all of these, and I don't know that we would, it'll exhaust our current capital account. So I'm assuming we don't want to do that, and at some point we should discuss how do we go about deciding how much of the fund to expend. So
That's
just
a great
something
point.
to plan.
Yeah, it will come close to exhausting it if we did everything. You're right. Because I think our capital fund is like a 1.2, and I think with all this, because the ambulance is coming out of a separate fund.
Right. It'd be $1 million.
Yeah, so it'd
Right
be
around
about
$1 million.
$1 million would be, yep. Yeah. I got about 800. Yeah, well, it's a lot. I'll leave it at that. A lot.
Well, since you offered it, Chris, I'll ask, perhaps Jen can comment on any preliminary discussions on the amount of monies that would be moved into the capital fund as a result of the pending free cash.
I don't know if Jennifer's still there. Oh, she's coming back. Jen, I don't know if you heard that.
Sorry, I just had someone pop in, so I just muted and turned my video off. If you could
Oh,
just
okay.
catch me up.
Yeah, no, I was just asking a simple question. If there's been any numbers bandied about as far as how much money might be moved into the capital fund in October.
When free cash is
Nope,
certified.
Not until free cash is certified.
Okay, and that's so not even a percentage or anything, nothing like, no, so nothing. Okay.
No.
No number. So that's, I mean, that's obviously important to us too. Or could take any future decision making out of our hands as far as funding capital needs. But all right. So anything else? Since we
Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to hijack.
No, that's all right. No, that's good. Great questions. I'm glad you put them out there. The first item, DPW replace truck 2. Seeking $250,000. It's a priority 1. Source of funding is the CIF. Was originally scheduled a little further out, but it's in tough shape. So, Paul, I don't know if you can.
Yep. One of the things that we found out from Kevin was when his package was put together for us, due to some technical difficulties, the second pages were all missing.
right,
So it's not like he just dumped these and didn't have any backup to them.
right.
When they got copied for presentation to us, the second pages of all of these things were missing. So just to
Right.
give him kudos, he had done the work and it was all there. We just didn't
Correct.
see it. Did he end up sending those to you? Chris?
They've all, well, I've uploaded what I was given, most recently into the drive.
Yeah, I think the
Um,
version you uploaded, Chris, has 54 pages, so that hopefully is complete.
So that should have everything.
Okay.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but I don't think there was a whole lot of additional on this because I didn't see a whole lot of additional.
Well, there was some bids attached and rationale for a number of these things. But just to let
So
you know,
maybe that was at the end.
he did do the work, and I thought he was going to update your information by sending you the complete package for you to disseminate to us. And
Well,
maybe he did.
it is in there. But there's nothing, or Faye has sent me everything. I don't have a budget quote on a truck, on the $250,000 truck. I've got the mower attachment budget quote, and I've got the
Okay.
all the technical services and all that stuff. I did not have a quote on the dump truck, but he specified. I can go back to my emails to see if he had sent me anything else, but
So the discussion on the dump truck was essentially the reason it got moved up is lead time now is 18 to 24 months on ordering a truck. So if he orders it now, it won't be for this plow season. It'll be for next year. They hadn't exactly decided which truck was going to be replaced, but they figured the one that had the fire in it and has had lots of maintenance issues since then would probably be the one to be replaced. But that's why this got moved up on the schedule, was lead time has gone crazy with it.
and the truck is in tough shape, right? I mean, we're convinced about that, just to
Well,
make
it's
sure that we're.
There's a number of them that they're cycling through. He figures the one that had the fire, which is in tough shape, will most likely be the one that hits the road when this one arrives. Well, we're talking, at least 18 months before that happens. So they'll be running that truck all this year because they have no option. They are maintaining the dump body that we bought, so they're buying a cab and chassis and having the other equipment moved over onto it.
Okay. And that stuff's in decent shape.
The body,
Yeah, well, everything that's being moved over, the dump body
Yeah.
and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff.
that's
Okay.
just fine. It's the truck itself has got years and miles and had a fire.
Did he give you guys any support for there was a Madigan estimate, I guess. That I didn't see, so I don't know if that's, and he didn't forward it to me, so I don't know, Jennifer, if you have that or no.
I did look at it. I left his copies with him.
Okay.
But,
250 was the number, thereabouts.
yep, that's the ask at this point. He's hoping it'll come in under that.
Paul, could you go over kind of the history here? I remember we had this long discussion about the fact that they were in danger of going down to 2 trucks, and that 2 trucks for a winter was impossible. And so we did approve a truck, right? So we purchased a truck that's relatively new, and we're up to 3 trucks at the moment.
I believe that's correct, Pete, but we didn't go out and do inventory. It was in the middle of a raging thunderstorm.
But I think the discussion went that it's impossible really to provide what the town needs during the winter with just 2 trucks. It has to be a 3-truck fleet in order to get all the plowing done that needs to be done. And at this moment, he's basically saying that given the 2-year lead time, he has a truck that he thinks is likely to be difficult to maintain and keep on the road.
Exactly. They'll get it done, but it's going to cost some probably.
Oh, just reading from the minutes of the questions we had last week.
Yep.
Maintenance costs for the last couple of years, and an explanation, prior director was favoring newer used vehicles at around 107K. Did you have that discussion with him?
We did. He didn't have maintenance costs on these. You know, two years worth or anything like that. I bet he could pull them up, but probably the key point is he wasn't sure when this truck arrived, which truck would be leaving. His assumption was the one that had the fire because that's had the most problems of late, but something might happen to the other one in that time.
Well, I would imagine if we just got the figures from the worst case scenario, if the other truck becomes worse, at least we know what the real baseline is that we're referencing.
And he knew nothing about the prior director's affinity for used trucks. And he said he really is not in favor of that, in the fact that you're kind of buying someone else's problems. They got one mechanic, which is overworked at this point, and to take on a used truck, which already has maintenance issues, would kind of jam things up anyway. I kind of agree with that. When I was doing federal government purchasing, they wouldn't even allow us to look at used anything. For just those reasons. You just don't know what you're getting.
Okay, so we don't have any clarification on.
If you want, I'll give Kevin a call and ask him for the maintenance numbers. I don't think that would be terribly pertinent at this point, because he's got 2 vehicles that are, you know, in 2 years going to be both of them pretty much ready for replacement anyway.
So
Yeah,
from that, go ahead.
I think from my perspective, I really am hoping we get certainly the new guys accustomed to a standard process. If they want a piece of equipment replaced, the standard questions they're going to get are, how much are we expending in annual maintenance costs? So they just know it ahead of time and they're prepared to provide it. Is that, you know, people coming in from the outside may not follow the same rubric. If they say, okay, it's like a 20-year lifetime, we need to replace it at year 19. And that's historically not how we've done things. It's a good guideline and it may be appropriate, but it's just, you know, kind of the process I'd hope we establish with all the department heads.
Okay.
So, okay. And then the other piece is just get a copy of the Madigan's estimate, for lack of a better. I think that, because that's part of our requirement as well. And that I did not have, so.
I just want to make the point that the difficulty we have here is in large part related to the turnover of DPW directors. We always ask for a forecast. We've worked hard at trying to have a forecast of what's going to be replaced when, particularly with these expensive vehicles. And it just seems that we can't, the forecast never works. We're always being asked for something new, something we didn't expect, something that wasn't on the forecast. Am I misstating that?
Unfortunately, all too true.
So it's very difficult for us. We just, once again, I think we want to start up this, give us a forecast, show us what we can expect, in terms of replacements over the at least 5 years. So we can anticipate these and then not have to do these last minute. Do we really need to do this kind of meetings? I don't know. To be honest, do we really need to do this? Apparently we do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it, but I'm not sure. It doesn't seem to line up with anything that's on the schedule that was even provided by them. I mean, it lines up a little bit. I mean, it's a $250,000 request. The schedule we got last spring was called for a truck for $217,000. So
In what year though? Was in
that was in FY22.
22.
So that's come and gone, right?
Yeah, well,
That was the one I think we bought already,
I
right?
was gonna say that's the one we provided. Yeah, so this is the next one. Okay.
Do we know if it arrived?
I don't believe it has. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it has. Right. But I can't say that. Paul, you didn't see any new trucks when you were down there, did you?
Like I said, we didn't go out and do an inventory of anything. It was a little wild out there.
Okay.
But when I call him, I'll ask him that question also.
Yeah, ask him that question as well. That'd be good. So we'll get those details and pass over this until the next meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're gonna run out of time here. Yeah, really quick.
Yep.
What are the details we're gonna get?
We're gonna get the estimate. We're gonna get 2 years of maintenance costs. And we're gonna find out whether the new truck came in, right?
Okay.
I think that's what we're looking
Right.
for, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Anything else?
Not on that truck.
Okay, so we'll leave that for now. Design permitting, bridge replacement, Prescott Street. This is something.
Okay,
that
Jennifer,
came
you might
through.
have to help me with this one. This is well known to Ray, this little bridge up on Prescott Street that is severely deteriorated. It may get shut down at the next state inspection, is what I was told, and it's being inspected fairly regularly now. They're looking for some funding through, I don't know if it's DOT, but there's a couple of different places. There's a small bridge replacement program run by the state, which this most likely would come under. And Kevin had just found out that this may come under a culvert replacement that to start with, they didn't know that it could be funded under that. It's a small enough bridge, and the way it's constructed, it would fit under one or the other of those two programs. Now, this is where I get foggy, Jennifer, is the 150 that's the ask right now has to be expended in order to apply for funding to replace the bridge. Am I correct in that?
these grant programs are looking for shovel-ready projects. So they want all the design and permitting ready to go. So yes, you're correct in that.
Okay. So that's essentially what this is not asking to replace the bridge. This is asking for design bid documents, and get the
Permitting.
permitting in place so that they can go ahead and get in line for the state to fund replacement of the bridge.
Correct.
Will-
Perfect.
will we recover these later, these funds?
No.
The 150?
No,
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
I've been on the finance committee now about 10 years, I think. I've never seen this kind of a project before.
Been on it for 20 some odd years. I've never seen one.
Yeah, likewise.
Well, I don't think we've ever had a bridge replaced in town before.
No.
Well, ordinarily, how are
the
these
community,
funded?
the community that I'm coming from did routinely have these types of projects on the capital plan and program. And, you know, when a bridge goes, it's usually a pretty significant cost. And we're going to want to look to offset that through grant funding if possible. Ultimately, it's not the state's responsibility. It is a municipal bridge. So any grant funding that the design work would open us up to is obviously advantageous. Regardless, if we don't get a grant, we're going to have to undertake work on this bridge in order to keep it open at some point. And you might be right that just, you know, at the age of the bridges that we've had in town, that we don't own a lot of bridges that are in this current status. So you haven't had to encounter it before.
So Jennifer, what happens if we don't do it and the road gets closed? Is that, I mean, because I mean, let's think of it from a public safety standpoint. There's really no liability because there's no West Boylston development beyond that bridge, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that Sterling starts on the other side of that bridge, and it would be their responsibility for emergency response and so forth. So other than an inconvenience and a big orange barrel at the end of the road, what would be our exposure?
You know, in terms, if the state just closes it, then it's a closed bridge and you have a detour.
So the road becomes, so
Um,
Prescott Street becomes a dead end street.
A
There you
dead
go.
end street. The rail line is there, so I don't know if this bridge really were to fail, what would happen to that rail line?
Right.
Well, this
Why
bridge
would
isn't-
it affect the rail line?
Yeah, it's not involved with it's not an overpass
the-
or anything.
No, but if the rail is contributing to the degradation of the bridge through the vibrations, it's pretty close to it. So if you had a catastrophic failure at this bridge, it might have some impact on the rail line. I mean, I'm just kind of talking off the cuff here, but it's very close to that. I think I had reported last time, I don't have the numbers currently, but the traffic counts on that road were pretty high. Higher than I anticipated. It's used as a cut through.
Yep.
Is this the bridge over Washockham Brook? Is that what we're
Right.
talking?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay.
Jennifer, based on your history with using these grant programs, what percentage of project costs have you seen covered? What kind of range have you seen?
It really depends. You know, if there's other funding sources where there's legislative earmarks coming in to assist as well. We're gonna have a brand new administration though, so I really don't want to speculate on what the next administration's priorities are gonna be.
Sure, but I'm just asking, what's your experience been historically?
From zero to full funding. So there is a chance that we could do all of this design work and it could be zero for grant programs.
Okay.
Does that mean that we don't do it?
It may, right? Because I would imagine a bridge like that is not cheap. I mean, if the design works 150 grand, I can't imagine what the,
Luckily, there's.
Let me pull up
potential
right now
coverage.
what the, let me pull up what the small bridge reimbursement is. Hold on, just give me just a moment.
It just,
well, I know,
it's
I know.
amazing to me because it's basically a 2-foot or 3-foot culvert. And it's basically just an earthen bridge that goes over the culvert.
It is hard to believe, Ray.
This is the brook that drains the two Washockham lakes, so. So I mean, I suppose there could be circumstances in which there could be some pretty significant flow of water. I don't know. But
Yeah,
that's
the,
why
the
it's-
height of spring, it's flowing pretty good.
yeah.
That's one of the reasons this is being monitored pretty closely is because of the reservoir also.
I'm just pulling up to see if
Well-
we have anything online right now.
I guess the other piece of it is if we don't choose not to do anything with this bridge, I would imagine that some DCR group or conservation group or environmental group, whether it be public or private, would come to us and say, well, then restore the brook to its normal banks or whatever it is and take the existing structure out. I'm just, I can't say that would definitely happen, but I would imagine that would. I can't believe that we just let it sit there and decompose into the brook.
So the small bridge program covers up to 500,000 in construction.
Is that a
I
dollar for
sent-
dollar match or what's the format?
They don't have information on that. They just say up to 500,000 and the culvert program. Let's see. Forgive me, ask questions. Let me just control F $ here. 25,000 to 400,000.
It's a pretty good range.
Do we know what the cost of replacing the bridges, the construction cost?
No idea.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Not until after this
Right.
$150,000 work is done.
$150,000, right?
Now, Chris, you got the additional package of the 150K worth of costs detailed out in the.
It's in the
Double-sided.
drive there. It's in our drive, yes.
It is, okay.
So it's actually the well, it's 139,715 is what I have. The preliminary design is 31,000. Final design is another 29. MBI expenses $500. Beta group environmental and permitting, that's $43,000. USA WSP USA survey and easement plans 19,000 and the HIF geotechnical counseling 18,000 for a total of 139,715. So I think
What are our contracting requirements for this, Jen? Do we have to get 3 bids to place the order at 140?
Oh, yes, yes. We would have to go out to bid for this project.
And
do we have to go out to bid for the engineering piece too?
Yes. Unless they're on the state bid list. I'm not sure if these folks are on the state bid list or not. I know this is somebody that the director was able to get a quick quote from for the purposes of providing this body with an estimate, and not to say that this is who we would go with.
Okay.
we know if he's looking for other bids? And he got one, clearly we can have a reference number to put on the warrant, but are there any activities underway right now to get alternate bids?
No, not until we actually had funding.
I wouldn't put anything out to bid unless I could fund it.
Right.
So really, this is we have no reference basis here. We either recommend it or we don't recommend it. Is there any follow-up or questions that we can really ask that are material?
It comes down to the fact that the next time this bridge gets inspected, it may get closed. And if we don't move forward on this, we can't apply for state funding to replace the bridge. The bridge is in that kind of dire straits.
And
So-
the director was actually looking for ARPA funding originally. Well, that's what he marked too on this. He really wanted ARPA funding for this project in order to get the design and permitting done as expediently as possible. So to be ready for the next grant round. I don't recommend ARPA funding personally for this, however.
Yeah, it's only a 3-week difference in timeline, right?
Correct.
Right.
So, yeah.
So yeah, I guess a broader concern, as I go through this, and I don't know, Jennifer, how we communicate this to Kevin, but how many other bridges do we have in town like this that are susceptible to this? Because again, I'm with Ray and Pete. Ray and I came on right around the same time, 22, 23 years ago, whatever it was. And this is the first time I've ever seen anything like this. I've never seen any kind of a capital schedule that included any kind of a bridge replacement or provision or reserve for bridge failures. I mean, and I just
Yeah.
would be curious as to what that looks like. If there are any other, I mean, there's got to be others. I'm sure there are.
Good question.
So a lot of our main roads are Route 140 and Route 112, Route 12. So maybe they are, but they're state responsibility, not town.
Right, those would be state, but there's probably some that are not. But again, I'd just be curious, just for our planning purposes. I mean,
Yeah.
Personally, I don't know. I guess we can sit there and pine over this again and again. I guess, do we want to? Is this something we want to move forward with? Recommending it to move forward with or not? I don't think we have much of a choice, but I guess in the context of this one, how many others could be looming in our future?
Well, and we'll have to see what the new legislation coming out is, but we won't have that benefit for the timeline we need to make a vote.
No.
But in essence, we're talking about investing 150,000 for the possibility of getting up to 500K in reimbursement.
Right.
I think that's what I'm understanding.
Well, if we don't get reimbursement and we're not willing to allow this bridge to close, if we wanted to keep this bridge open, this is work that would need to be done regardless.
Sure.
So whether this shows up on the FY24 request for the actual construction costs, if we're not funded through a grant, I would expect it to be there as a pretty significant ask.
Has the select board offered any opinion or position on this? Are they supportive?
The select board has not weighed in on any of the capital items, and I anticipate that they will be doing so at their October 5th meeting.
So they haven't actually heard that the bridge could be closed.
They've just seen just the name of the project and the $150,000 ask.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And I guess so we're being somewhat proactive by getting this done now. I guess, is it within, so, and again, Jennifer, in your experience, is this something that the state comes in normally and closes down the bridge and then says, go out and get this fixed? Or or it's probably all across the board, different approaches?
I've had an experience where the state just closes the bridge and says, figure it out. And then has said, you're not you're not eligible for any of our grant programs because of the type of, that was a very unique structure. And they said it wasn't a bridge, it wasn't a culvert, it wasn't a road, it didn't really have a definition and figure it out essentially. And that went, went on the warrant as an item to the taxpayer. You know, the state last year was announcing all sorts of winter recovery assistance for projects like this, that they had money to burn and they were just looking for projects that were shovel ready. And they were announcing grants, you know, that were not in the normal grant cycle. But if you had something that was ready to go, you could put a good foot forward.
So so there are points to be had for being proactive. And
Absolutely.
before, it's just whether those points are worth $150,000 at this point or not. I mean, that's it. And we have to, and I guess understanding that once we spend that $150,000, we have a pretty short window in order to get going on the actual construction, because who knows what could change in EPA requirements and all that sort of stuff, which is all part of these engineering recommendations. So
According to Kevin, he gets this design and specs put together. He's going right into looking for funding through these two programs.
okay. Good. Thanks, Paul. All right. So do we feel like we have enough information to take a vote on this item tonight?
I don't. I certainly would like, I think this should be presented to the select board as well. I mean, there is an option here to close the road, right? And not do this. Or maybe that's not really an option. I don't know.
No, I think
I'm
it's an
feeling
option.
uncomfortable, like we haven't really put this out to everybody. Go ahead.
Well,
I believe the select board was looking for our recommendation on these items before they were going to discuss them.
yeah, chicken and egg.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, good. When are they scheduled to vote on these, Jennifer? Is it that next week?
On the 5th, that's correct.
But they're not going to vote on these, Chris. We'll present to them the articles we would include on the capital article. They may choose to endorse or not endorse them at town meeting, but
Okay.
they won't be voting on them.
Okay. Well, Pete, when you say you would like to know what the select board, I mean, would that sway your vote one way or the other on endorsing this or not, or recommending it? I mean, if the select board says the hell with it, close the road, then you'd say,
Well, you know, here we are once again. You know, this thing just seems to come out of the blue.
yeah,
You know, we make this tremendous effort to try to forecast our kind of capital expenditures. And no matter what we do, we just seem to want one after another. Every time we come together, there's something new and different that, where did this come from?
Well, that's understandable, Pete, but you
Yeah.
got to remember that this was precipitated by the state inspectors inspecting this bridge and classifying it as in dire need, not something that the DPW director drove around and said, hey, I'd like a new bridge.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may, Chris, one way we could potentially approach this is we opt to include it on the warrant and then give it a neutral recommendation at town meeting. Because I think in the end, it's going to be more a lifestyle question. Do we want to inconvenience people like me to go around and not use Prescott Street as cut through? We can't give the citizenry a number on what the costs are going to be, other than we know the amount of the estimate to get the engineering studies done.
That's right. We could be sitting here and next year and find out after we've done this that we're also going to have to spend another $200,000 or $300,000 to get the bridge complete.
oh, it'll be at least that, yeah, I'm sure, whether we can get grant funding for that or not. All right, so that said, I mean, are we comfortable that's a great suggestion, Ray. So would we be comfortable voting on that?
Putting it up to town meeting, basically saying, we don't know.
Yep.
Here's a project, here's the problem. The bridge could be closed and it could be a dead end and you may have to detour.
Okay.
You want to spend $150,000 for this?
So I will make a motion that we include it on the warrant article with a neutral recommendation and with an explanation of what we don't know.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So that's Ray Burkhalter with the recommendation, with the motion, Paul Bonson with the second. Pete Murphy,
I'll vote for that. Yes.
in
Aye.
favor? Aye, okay. Ray Burkhalter,
Aye.
Paul Bonson,
Aye.
Mary Foley,
Aye.
and Chris Berglund, aye. Okay, so it's unanimous. Neutral recommendation. You got that, Pete? In your
I do.
minutes? Great. Okay, so that one's done. All right, now next is the flail mower attachment. Paul,
Now, the rationale for this is they have a flail mower that they are running on this track list. It was not designed for it. It has frequent breakdowns because it's not the one that was actually designed for it. But they have it, it works, and they're using it. And yes, it could be attached to the big loader, but they really don't want to be doing that because apparently they would have to take the bucket off the big loader every time they wanted to attach this flail. So this is an ask to upgrade the flail mower that gets used during the growing season fairly regularly and has some frequent breakdowns. So the new one would be the one designed for this track list and would hopefully not have so many operating issues.
okay. So when we were the questions we had were, why is this different from the prior director's priorities? Because the existing one doesn't work, I guess is the answer to that one.
Well, it works, but
Mm.
it's problematic, but they used it all summer long.
Okay,
And what's the ask on this?
35,000, 34,500. And then any details on costs of what it was costing to keep the current?
I think all of the repairs and adjustments and everything else they had to do with it were in-house.
In-house, okay.
Any info on how much manpower they had to put into that?
How often it went down, how much time it took them to get it back up, I didn't really think to ask.
Okay.
There's also a question about warranties on the new item.
Yeah, any clarification on that or no? What the warranty might be? I don't think that was included on the bid. I think it was pretty just straightforward. 34,500. Regular vehicle performed by maintenance staff. Trackless MT7, all finance credit approvals. Quote reflects back 116 pricing. Yeah, nothing in here on warranty. We wanna-
If I can ask, you did the on-site look. What's your opinion? Do you think we need to do this, or you've actually seen this firsthand and talked to them?
I've seen the one that they have operating, but I did not see it set up or get pointed out what the particular problems were with it. But again, I'll put together a list and send it off to Kevin with, hey, would like to know this also.
Well, I mean, Paul, what kind of condition is the one in that we have now? Is there salvage value to that or anything? I mean, that's something, I mean, again, I don't want to create a situation where we're like aggregating spare parts. But I mean, because when and I know Kevin wasn't around when we bought this new trackless. I don't think he was, right? I think that was under the other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
DPW
for sure.
director. But that was part of the selling point, was that it was, well, we'd be able to move over the existing flail attachment, and that was, great. And so we were like, all right, because I don't think we were exactly warm and fuzzy about the trackless either, but that being said, we have it now, and that's good. And obviously we want to be as efficient as possible, but it sounds like this is still operational.
It
And,
is.
is that something that has value? And again, and Jennifer, if you know anything about this, I mean, I know you're probably coming in on that.
I don't.
I
Just a general observation here. Do you think it would be helpful to have the folks that are requesting these capital items appear before the full body? So if there's questions.
That's what we usually do in before
Okay.
Springtown meeting. That's why we usually hold this stuff off until Springtown meeting.
Yep.
because
Okay,
We have a
fair
little
enough.
more time to do all that stuff, and we have, ability to get everybody together and be a little more comprehensive on impact on operational budget and everything. So that's why this is a little
Fair enough.
outside the ordinary. We don't usually have a list like this.
Is this a long lead time item? Or do we probably,
I don't think so.
Didn't say, but I wouldn't believe it is.
why couldn't we put this off till May?
Probably could. They're
Hear
they're
more
certainly
from
not going to
Kevin.
use it during the winter.
He's gonna have more items on the
good
list,
point.
I'm sure.
Well, I think he's probably looking for it so that he can have it ready for May. I mean, have it in-house and use it next spring, right? I mean, that would be my,
Yeah, this piece of equipment usually doesn't get heavily used, I wouldn't think, until July and August, when things really get growing. This is
Yep.
knocking down the brush at intersections along the edge of roads and that kind of stuff. That stuff doesn't really get growing until probably beginning of July.
okay.
So he's
If
got
we
one
put it
that
on the
is,
list for May. Sorry.
he's got
If we
one
put
that
it
is
on the
run-
list for May, we wouldn't be getting it until July, right? So it's not that we get it in May if it's on the May meeting.
Right,
Right.
It's July 1 event.
Exactly.
right.
Implications are, it means it's 1 or 2 months more use before it would get replaced if we push it to the spring.
Right.
It's probably gonna be more money too if we push it to the spring, just thinking out loud. the way things
Everything's
go.
more money, huh? Time
Yeah.
value of money.
Yeah.
Can't
Chris-
avoid it.
Shall we pass over? Or do we need to vote to pass over until Paul gets more info? Just
I
trying to
kind
be
of like
mindful
the
of the
idea of
time.
moving it off to spring.
I think, yeah. Is that a motion, Paul?
I'd make that motion.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Okay, we have a motion on the table that we move the flail mower attachment consideration off to the Springtown meeting. Pete Murphy,
Aye, yes.
aye. Ray Burkhalter,
Aye.
Paul Bonson, Mary Foley,
Aye.
Chris Berglund, aye. Okay. So we'll move that to fall. Okay. Next item is the parking lot at the DPW. $300,000. Paul, you want to give us a little
Well, you've
highly
all-
necessary?
You've all seen the parking lot. It's a mess, but it's in my opinion, still functional. There are a couple of areas that are more important to the director than others. Area around the fuel island and a couple of other spots that he mentioned. But at some point, this is going to need to be addressed in the big time. But I'm not sure, what we can do with it. It's a big ask. It's been on the ask list for a long time. But in the director's opinion, the parking lot itself is very poorly designed, laid out. I think he said out of that entire giant parking lot, there's like 17 parking spaces marked out in there. If it was laid out better, they could do more. But that's other
Do
than
they
that,
need more parking spaces?
well, if you go down there for anything, it's tough to tell where you should park even, and they could do a lot more with it. As an example, for the fall festival, they were looking to park vendor cars down there, and he could only tell them like 15 spaces that they could use
Right.
out of that great big lot. So that's just one example. That's just in the design and layout of it. That doesn't even address the
Oh, it's in terrible shape.
Oh, was there something in particular that made this such a priority that he felt it needed to be added to the fall warrant?
I didn't ask that question in particular, other than he comes in, looks at it and says, wow, this is a mess. I don't know if it was one more time putting it on there. I don't think there was anything precipitous. I don't think it's like that.
So I'm gonna move that we push this to the Springtown meeting with a request for a more modest proposal.
Or more options.
I don't
I
know if
second
you,
Second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ray, second by Pete Murphy. Discussion, Paul, you said you don't know.
I don't know that there will be any more modest option. That whole parking lot at some point needs to be done. I think there are a couple of areas that the director would be happy with getting fixed sooner rather than later, but at some point the whole thing needs to be addressed.
Okay, so let me retract my motion and propose a new one. We simply push this off to the Springtown meeting for consideration. We'll naturally have conversations with the director in the interim.
Okay,
I'll second that.
I can, all right. You want to second it, Paul? I'll cross out my name and put yours. in.
okay, so the motion's by Ray Burkhalter, second by Paul Bonson. Any further discussion?
And Chris, you alluded to the fact that, we don't know what's happening in there. It would be a tragedy to invest in a parking lot and then rip it up and put in a new building. So,
Well, we brought that discussion up with Kevin while we were chatting with him. And as far as the site goes, he's pretty well resigned, if you will, that's the location they're going to be in because of the salt shed and the central location and all of those things. They're just having a new roof put on the salt shed and trying to cite that somewhere else would be a horror show. He understands that, you know, his garage space is severely limited, but they're living with it. And he had I wouldn't say off the record idea that at some point in the future, the fire department may be moving or looking to move. And they would kind of slide in there where
The fire
the
chief mentioned that.
where the bays are big enough to handle his vehicles, and you know, so that I said to him, you know, if you're even thinking of this, you're talking like a millennia, and he understood that, but it was something that they have tucked in the back of their head.
I would like to comment, especially for our town administrator. This parking lot repaving has come up and many times with different directors. And some directors have said, no, it's not that big a priority. I can repair it. Some directors have said, I want a new salt shed. And that's come off and on the list, a new salt shed. That's not currently on the list, I take it. We're not talking new salt shed again, Paul?
No,
No.
they're just putting a brand new roof on the existing one.
I think that a plan for DPW is really what's required here. Do we need a new salt shed? You know, what other things need to be done there? Are we going to have a new building at some point? How does that impact the parking lot? Or are we going to spend this kind of money just and pave the parking lot and take that risk that it might be torn up later because we don't have a plan?
Just to echo everybody's kind of sentiments that I'm hearing so far, you know, even if it's obvious that this parking lot is in not of the best conditions, but it's also obvious that the future of this building is unknown. And in my opinion, I can't justify a $300,000 ask, even if we were to stay at the same location, not knowing what the future footprint looks like, you know, when potentially if we are looking at a new building, I would assume that we're looking at a big borrowing. We could roll the whatever parking lot improvements up into that borrowing. I did share that I thought that this was a large ask for a building with an unknown future with the director, and I am not in support of this request at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And by the way, and I apologize, Jennifer, for not asking you about the other requests, because I know you
That's
probably had
okay.
discussions on those, but know,
Thank you.
kicking the, passing over the, well, the truck two will get more information, but as far as the design permitting and the bridge replacement, I trust that that's, since we're neutral on that, I don't think you have any issue with that. We'll put it on the warrant.
No, and I think that that's fair to kind of gauge the will of the public.
And as far as the mower attachment, let's see what happens come springtime, and I hopefully that's all right with you. Parking lot. So we have a motion to push this till spring and have substantial further discussions with the. I'm not going to put words in the motion's mouth, but it was push it to spring and have additional discussions with the DPW director about options. So we have that motion was by Ray, seconded by Paul. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Pete Murphy, how do you vote?
I vote in favor. Aye.
Great. Paul Bonson,
Aye.
Mary Foley,
Aye.
Ray Burkhalter,
Aye.
and Chris Berglund, aye. Okay. So that's out till Springtown meeting. Okay. DPW director vehicle. $42,000. This was, I believe, scheduled for replacement in spring due to some disagreement. And I'll just give you my background and everybody else can fill in. I guess the previous town administrator had some disagreement onto the type of vehicle that was being requested. The there was the finance committee's, our conclusion at that time was that, well, since the current town administrator and the DPW director were at a disagreement as to whether an SUV was the appropriate vehicle or the current replacement of the current vehicle, which is a pickup truck, which seemed to be the previous town administrator's opinion, that we would wait until the new town administrator came in and see if there was some kind of a resolution that could be resolved. I mean, I think there were some cost efficiencies as far as the one vehicle would versus the other. I think the SUV had some cost savings. That said, I think there was some question as to the utility of the SUV versus the pickup truck, and I'm not sure that. And I guess Kevin's feeling was that there was no loss of utility, or not to his. He thought this might even be a better option for what he would use that director's vehicle for. But that said, Paul, I mean, I don't know I don't recall what questions we had.
I think you summed it up totally. The director was basically saying for his use, a small SUV would be a better vehicle as he transports his survey equipment and some sensitive stuff in there. And if it's a rainy day, he'd still be able to work out of the SUV, where an open bed pickup truck would not offer any protection for his equipment or him to be able to do work.
Yeah.
It all makes sense to me. It's less expensive, more efficient. And we asked him how often the pickup truck gets used as a pickup truck. He says when he's driving around, he sees a branch down in the road, he stops and throws it in the back. That's about as often as it gets used as a pickup truck.
Okay. Okay.
From the notes, the
Yeah.
only other question was, do we keep the old vehicle or trade it in?
That was also the discussion that we had. He understood that if it stayed, it would not become a member of a growing fleet, that when it was time to go, it went and did not get replaced. They were offered, I think it was about $3,000 as a trade-in, but he thought that on the state surplus site, they could probably get $8,000 or $9,000 for it. But at this point, it was felt that it would be valuable to keep it as a less used runaround vehicle. It wouldn't get very much mileage. It wouldn't cost an awful lot to keep it on the line. And every once in a while now they run for small pickup things when his truck is otherwise occupied with like the basin cleaning truck, which doesn't make any sense at all. So keeping it seemed like a rational thing. Not going to get that much for it, but that option is there. But it would get some usage, but not a lot of miles if we kept it.
Okay, I guess again, and Jennifer, why don't you chime in, because I know you have some input on this as well. So
Sure, thank you. So I have zero issue with an SUV for the director. I have talked to Kevin. Currently, he has quoted out for a Ford Explorer. I'm not convinced that an Explorer is necessary. I think we could even shave a little bit more off the cost by going with an Escape. But regardless, I really don't have an issue with an SUV. I'm also inclined to keep the current truck in the fleet, as opposed, not in the fleet, but in possession of the town of West Boylston, with the understanding that it is not going to be replaced. Just as if another vehicle is going down, even if it's in another building, it's an option for somebody else to use. But if we are going to get $8,000 to $9,000 and this body feels strongly, I would back that as well. So definitely in support of an SUV. Could be convinced both ways on whether to trade or keep the current vehicle.
One of the other pieces that the director came up with was the current building inspector's vehicle is in pretty deplorable shape. The building inspector's happy with it and drives it, but Kevin thought it was kind of on its last legs, and if it bit the bullet, this vehicle would be transferred to the building inspector.
I do feel differently about that. I think that I will be submitting for FY24 requests a replacement of the building inspector's vehicle. I don't know that a pickup truck would be, again, they're driving around with plans and equipment in the truck. I think an SUV is appropriate there as well. But in the interim, if his were to go down before we obtain that vehicle, certainly having this truck would be a benefit.
Chris, I will move that we endorse this on our capital article.
Okay, and do we want to opine at all? I mean, Ray, in your motion on whether the other vehicle stays in service or?
Yeah, not as part of the motion, but my personal opinion is that we leave this to the town administrator to decide the appropriate use. If my personal opinion is if it's not often used and sits in a parking lot outside, maintenance costs are going to outweigh its utility, but
Right.
that's
why I just
really need to figure that out right now.
I'll second.
Okay, further discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of $42,000 for a directional vehicle signify by saying aye. Pete Murphy.
Yeah, aye.
Okay, Mary Foley.
Aye.
Great. Paul Bonson. Ray Burkalt.
Hi.
Chris Berglund, aye. Okay, motion carries unanimously. That's great. Thanks, everybody.
I need a 30-second break. I'll be right back.
Oh, well, come on. This is the best part, cemetery paving. Come on.
I've started the timer.
Oh,
Yeah.
cemetery. We have
Double it.
Cemetery paving is the best.
I may have to get a
part.
new sheet of paper. This is too long a meeting.
There you go. See what you have to put up with, Jennifer. This is it. You know, this is quite the ornery group here. This is it.
Chris is pretty tough to deal with too. You really
Yeah.
should go back in and renegotiate.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think the committee that selected and handled the selection was a little tough too. I'm not sure, but
No, they were a bunch of pushovers. They were easy.
There was one guy who really gave me the business.
yeah.
Yeah, but Chris isn't here, so you shouldn't say that kind of.
Okay. So
back.
Paul, all right, great. Thanks for coming back. So we're looking at $36,000 to fund cemetery paving, and the two questions we had: where this project is, and the annual. Is this one line of an annual request, or is it just a one-time request? Because I think we were concerned over whether there's an actual plan for the paving of the cemetery.
There is not an actual plan. I think this was really thrown in as, hey, if you've got some extra money, I've got some paving that could be done. So that this section that he pointed out to us is not in the worst shape down there. It's just below the chapel.
Yep.
That kind of wide area leading down into the old
Oh, yes.
portion of the cemetery.
Yep.
it does have some large cracks in it. I forgot to mention to him, but we funded a crack sealing machine a few years ago. So
Good point.
we could probably do some preservation work there, but this is not breaking up and or in danger of vehicles crashing or anything like that. So
Okay,
that
Go
there's not a plan, and it really sounded like, hey, if you guys have got some extra money, I got a place to spend it.
so just for everybody's reference, if they don't have access to the document, it was a priority number 2 on of our grading system as well. So any other information at this point? Or are we ready to take a vote? I mean, Jennifer, are you?
I thought we had asked for a cemetery paving plan before.
I
Right,
think we did, Pete.
and it's never
had-
happened, right? Yeah.
We had asked if there was one or would be one, and the response I remember getting was, no, there's not, and it's on an as-needed basis. It's not like it gets all that much traffic down there. This particular place gets probably the most traffic that it does get. Bill obviously spends more time in the cemetery than any one of the rest of us. He didn't think it was in terrible shape.
Okay, all right.
I'll move that we not endorse this item for our capital article.
I'll second it.
Okay, Ray Burkhalter with the motion, Mary Foley seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Pete Murphy,
Aye.
Paul Bonson,
I
Mary Foley,
Aye.
Ray Burkhalter,
Aye.
and Chris Berglund. Aye. The motion carries. Great. Thank you. Thanks, Paul, for all that great information. Appreciate it. So.
my pleasure.
Paul, there was a general section in the minutes from last meeting having to do with vehicle maintenance and salt control. Did you have that conversation with him?
We did. The issue is well recognized by the director. They're working more on it. The obvious issues is salt and getting vehicles cleaned afterwards. One thing that I never even realized or thought about was the interior of some of these vehicles get a pretty good dose of salt because we don't have a full-time loader operator. So each one of the truck drivers loads his own truck. When they run out of salt, they drive in, hop out, get in the loader,
Oh, geez, yeah.
fill their truck. Obviously, some salt gets spilled all over the place when you're loading a truck, and then the guys with wet, snowy boots walk through the salt, climb back in their trucks, and go do their work. That's a recognized issue by Kevin, and they're working on it. I suggested anything from a garden hose to work on it a little bit more, and he agreed. I suggested using a power washing company periodically to maybe once a month during the snow and ice season to come in and give these things good cleaning. He didn't think his budget would handle it, but he said that he'd get pricing. But he also said that they have an open mechanics position, which he doesn't think they're ever going to be able to fill because we pay so poorly for a mechanic. So it's like, maybe you take some of the mechanic's salary and transfer it into purchase services and get these trucks washed out. So, yes.
Will he be coming to the town administrator or us with a proposal, or what's your thinking?
He's not coming with a proposal. He's thinking about it because we just brought it up in discussion. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. He
Yeah,
doesn't even have a price, and neither do I, on what getting equipment power washed would cost. I know there are companies out there that do it, but I don't know the cost.
Thank you. Bob.
Well, okay, thanks, Paul. And Jennifer, keep us posted on that position as well, what's going on there, because without that mechanic to take care of now an additional truck, it sounds like, or maybe an additional truck. It'll be interesting. Okay, so now let's move on to fire. 3 requests by Chief Sadowski. And first one is Chief's vehicle, car 1.
Right. That's been requested before.
Yep.
And we kind of blew it off we didn't blow it off. We put it aside last time because we were waiting for the new chief, I think. Was part of the reason. He's also given me, he says it cannot be welded together anymore.
Right.
It's rusting in the doors and in the back. And he did give me a list. He gave me a pretty comprehensive list of all the money he has spent on repairs. So, it's starting to really add up there. And he just thinks it needs to be, this is the time, it needs to be done. And he also needs a command center in it. It does not have the current one does not have a command center.
So what is the command center? Can you?
The command center is the big console, and it's in the back is the way I understood it. So we can lift up the tailgate and work under that. And the command center has all the stuff on the firefighters, all their info. It's got tags that they wear on their uniforms so they can track them if they're in a building.
Oh.
And it's just something that they really should have. The chief should have it because the chief is the one organizing, the details at a fire. So he feels this command center is really necessary.
So he's the safety officer, Mary, really at the fire then. That's what
pretty
he's
much
looking for.
Yeah. So, he says it's to be accountable and, it's just what is required, he's to run a, successful fire, not, you know what I mean? And, he just, thinks it's time for this. And, he uses that for any ground fires, emergency operations, anything. The other thing with this vehicle is they can use this if their ambulances are out. They can send this car out, but they cannot transport people, but they can call another town and they don't have to send a paramedic. They don't have to send a driver because whoever drives this vehicle is the paramedic.
Gotcha.
So it's got some real essential uses, he feels, especially right now with ambulance 2 out of service.
Okay. Good. Well, that's great. Any further questions for Mary or any concerns? Do we need any additional information on this?
So the command center, is it transferable between the vehicles?
I believe it is. I believe it's a console. I don't know how wired in it is. I didn't ask that, Ray, but it sounds like it's something they have put in the vehicle. So I would assume that they could take it out. It's an add-on.
I will wax philosophical. The last time we had a firefighter have to enter a building, is it more than 20 years ago? I mean, safety is safety, and I don't know that we can necessarily say no, but
Well, we
I
have
don't
all
think
these.
we've ever had a need for it in town, as far as I can remember.
It could be further danger though because of all the cannabis facilities we have now. So that could be, that was ever happen.
Only if the cannabis is burning.
That's right. Exactly.
And it'll be a joyful firefight.
That's right.
I like that.
They'll be rushing into the building, right? That's it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else?
I'll make a motion to endorse this onto the capital article.
Great. Thank you, Ray.
I'll second it.
Mary, second. So motion by Ray Burkhalter, seconded by Mary Foley. Further discussion?
Just a brief question. The command center must be a fairly expensive piece of equipment to push this
Yes.
price up to 67,000 if the DPW director's SUV is only 42,000?
Yes, it
Um,
is.
Yeah, let me see. I think I have a quote here.
I think it's Uplift Command Center Emergency Lighting Console, 15,000. Or
There you go.
14,799.
Yeah.
He has investigated this and he can get a red truck cheaper than a black truck, and he can get that quicker. So, and he wants the red because that signifies fire.
And this is a Tahoe, right, Mary?
Yes.
Yeah, because I didn't have the bid on that, so I don't know. So you saw that, Mary, so that's good.
Well, he's got that on the related costs
Okay.
on the sheet he sent.
Oh, on the
sent.
sheet he sent, yeah,
Mhm.
but we don't have the specific bid. So maybe we just get a copy of the bid. Maybe if you wouldn't mind just email him, just so we can have it for our file. That would be great.
Well, Paul asks a pretty interesting question. Are we talking about a significantly different baseline vehicle? As this would seem to be $10,000 more than the DPW director's vehicle without the.
Well, I think the Tahoe might be a bigger vehicle. I'm not
It is.
sure.
Yeah.
And
It's a bigger vehicle.
so
It is bigger.
I think it's
Is
just
it-
a bigger vehicle.
Is it needed to be a bigger vehicle?
That's a good question.
If I could just jump in, Mary, a Tahoe is pretty standard for a fire chief.
I would think so.
But Ken, do you have a sense of what the price differential between the Tahoe and the Explorer?
So the initial vehicle cost on the Tahoe was in the range of 43,700 to 48,700. And the Explorer was
67.
39.
Oh, okay.
So it's all the outfitting that really, I mean, the cost difference, 5 to 10,000 cost difference between the two base vehicles, but then it's the $15,000 in upgrades.
Yeah, it brings it up to like 65 grand. And I think he's built in a little cushion to ask the ask 65. Okay, is that good, Paul? So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Pete Murphy,
Aye.
Paul Bonson,
Aye.
Mary Foley,
I,
Ray Burkhalter.
Aye.
All right, Chris Berglund, aye. All right, so we'll put that on. Thank you. Car 2.
okay.
I did circulate an email today. I don't know, I didn't circulate it necessarily. Maybe I did. From the chief over car 2. I guess that is ending up in the shop because apparently the timing chain went.
Oh,
through the-
yes, that just happened, right. That
Yeah,
happened since I spoke to him.
yeah. But go ahead, Mary, on your input on
So
that.
I did see that email and he doesn't even know what it's gonna cost to get that repaired.
Right.
So anyways, he thinks there's gonna be a lag time in getting this also. So this vehicle responds to most medical emergencies. So if the ambulance goes out and this vehicle is available, it goes out as well. So they have an additional first responder to help lift patients, maneuver them out of houses, wherever it, sometimes that can be a tricky scenario. Okay, it's also used on medical, and so that's used on medical and service calls. It hosts the brush fire skid unit for forest fires, but the forestry truck is in. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I was giggling when I said that.
Yes, the brand new forest truck. I saw that in front of
Yeah, it's in.
the barn the other day. It
Okay,
looks nice.
um,
too.
One of the big jobs of this truck is it takes the hoses back from a fire because they have to be hung up and dried out and stuff. So it's a support vehicle for any time the fire trucks go out and have their hoses used. It tows the boat in case they have an emergency in the reservoir or rescue. or sometimes they have to help the DCR if there's a spill, contain the spill, and that's when they use the boats as well. So it has a significant rust and corrosion, and it needs extensive repairs. So, and he just says he really needs it because it has so many different uses. He doesn't think he'll be able to get it for a year. He probably won't be able to get it if he orders it now. It's at least 6 to 12 months back ordered. So that's that's very much a concern for him. And he just said the corners are all rusting out, the bottom's rusting out. He said it's just total rusting out. So
did he have any in addition? I mean, I know we don't have the estimate for the timing chain and what that's going to cost, but did he have any idea as to what he spent or what's been spent on this over the last
I've
couple of
got a
years?
list here. Hold on a minute. Hold on. So this is, unfortunately, the list is just a list of all the car expenses. So this is car 2. Let's go. Car 2. Give me a second, guys.
Yep.
Okay, that was nothing. Car 2 has not been bad. He hasn't really spent a lot on that. Yeah, that one hasn't been bad. The ambulances are where the real monies are coming in.
Okay.
So yeah, car 1 back in April, he spent over 3,200 in, but car 2, it's really not that big what he's put into it. I mean, in October, that's last year, sorry. No, that was fiscal 22. Yeah, so in the past year, he hasn't really put all that much into that vehicle.
And it sounds like it's going to get a new engine.
Yeah,
Like a man.
I mean, he doesn't have a choice, right? He's going to have to rebuild the engine and in order to keep it on the road.
which
I'm
is
gonna
really a
change
shame
when
if
you
it's
do
all
that.
rusted out.
Reality is, if it's that bad, I mean, if they lost the timing belt, it probably means you got a valve job and a whole bunch of other stuff that are coming up to the tune of $2 to $4 grand.
Yeah, they may even
Gotta
put a
wonder if it's
rehab
better
engine
to get a temporary rental vehicle in the interim.
He was also concerned about it passing inspection because of the rust underneath.
Okay. Do we need any additional information on this? Are we, timing is everything, right? Excuse the pun, right? Timing
We
is all-
have added a truck because we bought the forestry truck. This was in the past. This is where the forestry truck performed as a forestry truck because it had the skid on it in the summer. And so, so we have added another truck to the fire inventory.
Yeah, but didn't we replace a Jeep or something like that? Wasn't there a Jeep that was carrying something that was
Yes.
like
Yes.
ancient and that we were
And it
using
was
in
a
the
standard,
woods
most of the guys couldn't drive it.
and they couldn't
That was
drive it?
the tanker, yes.
Yeah.
There was the tanker, and yeah, there was a yeah, I think that was the tanker that you had a double clutch. People couldn't drive.
Yeah.
Right.
That went away.
Yes,
But
did.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
So I don't know with this latest development, but you hate to put good money into bad.
well, he's going to. We're going to get a new engine in this truck because he's wants to keep it on the road, right? So
Yes.
yeah.
I guess.
If lead time's a year and it's a crucial piece, you're gonna have to throw some money at it or
Yeah.
go without it.
Well, the essential item, but he had a number 3, and I'm not sure he put that number 3 on it just because he wasn't sure of how our ratings worked or not. But Jennifer, I don't know if you have any input on this. No.
I don't.
Of
Okay.
course, I know this was originally scheduled as a 25 fiscal
Yep.
year 25 replacement.
Yep.
My inclination here is that we're going to replace this car number 1. He's new. I mean, he's looking over all this equipment. figuring out how he's going to use it. Maybe, I don't know. We can't put this off until spring and listen to the chief, have him come in and meet with us. I don't know. What's your opinion, Mary? I wasn't there, so I can't really say.
Well, the only problem with that is, you know, the lead time to get a new vehicle. I don't know if it's going to be longer or shorter in the spring. That I don't know.
Hmm.
He said right now Ford is shifting their output, their production output, because they're still having problems getting all the supplies to make the
You know, the chips and
vehicles,
stuff.
the
yeah.
chips.
Isn't there an issue also, Mary, that the Ford's shifting to electric vehicles for these
Yes,
trucks?
it absolutely is.
And the chief doesn't want to have an electric vehicle at this point? Our new chief?
You know, I didn't ask him that, Pete. I'm sorry. You know what? I should have had you with me.
I'm sorry, that's my fault, but yeah, okay. I'd like to hear more from the chief about all of this. If he's, since the engine's blown up and the engine's going to be rebuilt, it sounds like this thing will be, I mean, they'll still have the rust, but it should run reasonably well. I don't know. What do the rest of you think?
Let me find his email real quick. Just want to.
You folks
Yeah,
want to just table this?
My connection keeps freezing and dropping out on me. So
Pete, to answer your question, from my perspective, yeah, I'd like to push this back a little bit and have a more detailed discussion. So we're going to be investing almost 500K in fire department this term. So we're likely to say yes to the ambulance anyway. So
Yeah, I think so too. There's also the generator. We haven't heard about that.
Oh,
That's
he's
gonna
not
come.
interested in the generator.
He's
No.
not.
No, that's
He is-
not on the
no, the
list.
generator is off the table, Pete.
Really?
Yes, it's off the table.
That's amazing.
Yes. I meant to tell you that. The generator's gone. No, he's not
Right.
looking for a generator.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'll move to what do we want to call it? Table this until what did we vote? What was our motion on the other ones there? Is to put it
not
off.
to
until
endorse it
spring?
for the capital article.
Yeah, not to endorse it. Okay, let's just say not to endorse. At this
All right.
time, till we get to meet the chief, we get to hear more about his needs and his priorities.
And we'll
Yeah.
ask him about electric cars.
all right, well, I met, you know, I did meet with him. That's so anyway, do we have a second? So Pete, as a motion, do we have a second?
Oh, no second.
I'll second.
All right.
All right, second. I will say that I did meet with the chief on these three items. I didn't dig deeply on this, but he just said that it was his concern was the lead time, I think, more than anything, for the replacement of this, because he does look at this as an essential vehicle, and it was severely rusted out. I mean, I guess that's it. Just from that standpoint, he was concerned over that. Doesn't sound like there were a lot of expenses though up until now.
No,
Over the last couple of years. So I guess that's good and bad news. But
I'm going to say,
If I could just make,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
I think we've got a
go ahead.
little lag here. There's definitely a little lag. Sorry about that. If like the dump truck, rather than putting it off entirely, if we want to just table it and allow the chief to give one last pitch for this town meeting, before putting it off fully until May at this point, to come in and explain and answer everyone's questions.
well, we could certainly look to do that. I mean, I don't know, is everybody comfortable? We have a motion and a second. Do we want to?
Well, we're mixing things. Jen, you're talking about the first item on the list, replacing truck 2.
Right.
So.
So what
if-
I'm saying is you're gonna have another meeting. If you're talking about truck 2 again, you're gonna have another meeting, I would assume. So do you want to put over this final decision on this item until that meeting as well?
Yep, we could certainly do that. I mean, I guess that's probably should have started by scheduling another meeting, but I didn't really. But that's the benefit. But anyways, well, we have this motion on the table. Pete, do you want to augment that in motion or?
Well, I hadn't heard any, how does everybody else feel about that? Should we ask the chief to come in before this town meeting and convince us?
Well, we can certainly push the vote back if Chris is able to arrange for him to be at a meeting that we
Yeah,
are
I
all
mean,
at.
I'll just, you know what I'll do is I'll just schedule the meeting, and if he's able to attend, that's fine. If he's not, then
Alright.
we just
I'll
vote it
withdraw
anyway.
the motion then, and we'll just table this until we can get more.
Okay,
Because, we're also going to find out about the engine rebuild.
yep.
That's right.
So we'll have some information on that. So let's,
And how that impacts what he has to do next and
Yep.
all the rest.
so Pete, so you're gonna table, so we'll table this till the next meeting. So Paul, will you second that as well again, or?
Oh, you want to motion to table it? I thought we
I
just.
think so, yeah.
I thought on dump truck number 2, we just tabled it. I didn't have a
I think we had a
motion.
motion about,
We just did, yeah, we just didn't act on it. Would you like a motion on this one? Or you
I
just
think we
wanna-
should probably do the same on the first one too. Motion just to table for additional
Or,
information.
and withdraw the original motion and then just
Yeah.
motion
Yeah.
to table.
We're withdrawn, and so we're gonna table, and that's a motion to table. All
Yep.
right, I'll make that.
I'll second.
All right, there we
Okay,
go.
great. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, Pete,
Yeah, I,
Ray,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and Chris, aye. Great. Okay, so maybe what we should do is a roll on the DPW as well, just a motion to an,
okay,
somebody want to make a motion just to push it? Go ahead, Ray.
Move to table the DPW truck 2 replacement.
all right, second.
All right,
Sure.
thanks, Pete.
Okay.
Great. Further discussion, hearing none. Pete, aye.
Aye,
All right, Paul,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Paul, Ray,
Aye.
Chris Berglund, aye. Great. Okay, thanks, everybody. All right, last of these items is the ambulance, $395,000.
Oh, yes, the ambulance is quite expensive. However, the ambulance,
Guys,
um,
just froze up on me again.
Oh, sorry. You there?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Okay,
My internet is bouncing.
so anyways, the ambulance, he's moving up. He's also says that's another problem with getting an ambulance. He said that could take a year. The current ambulance is just a total money pit. He had put $20,000 into it a couple weeks ago, and it lasted one day and it broke down again. So when I was there, it was not working. It was just sitting in the actually the DPW lot there, waiting to see if somebody could look at it. So the ambulance, he put in $7,000 in July. And then he put in another couple hundred in August, and then he's just spent $20,000 on it. And
oh, geez.
it's leaking, and it wasn't working when I was there last week.
Oh my God,
So it was back one day and it broke down again. He
great.
said the big problem with the ambulance is, first of all, it impacts the community. He's losing revenue, and it's costing him money every time it's in the shop because they have to call for a second ambulance when they need it from another town. So
Mary, the nature of the lack of reliability, is it mechanical, electrical?
he said the last things were, I've got a rough list here. The leaking axle seal, kingpins are worn out. It failed the emissions, the fuel system. So metal shavings. So there's a whole, that's his current concerns. So I'm not a mechanic, but it doesn't sound good.
Yeah. So this has nothing to do with the back end of the ambulance. It all has to do with basically
The truck part.
the truck. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I trust most of the stuff that where he's going to be, I mean, all the infrastructure, a lot of that can be transferred over.
Some of
the
it
new one.
can, but he said they change the rules all the time, so he will need a
Become more
uh,
updated.
a better power loader. But I guess the stretcher is still good, so they can transfer the stretcher over.
Yeah, and I think on his email, he did elaborate on that a little bit.
Yes,
Um,
he did.
So as to what was, because I think there was some additional costs that might be incurred, but they said the ambulance power load system quote came in, it's 55,000, not the 30 that was in the initial estimate. However, this quote is both for the power lift system and the stretcher. Good news is the stretcher is only 2 years old due to a recent warranty item replacement, getting an entirely new hydraulic system. Therefore, we'll plan to be reusing the current stretcher and only purchasing the power load system, which is 30,000. So once again, on budget with our request. So that's some clarification that's in that email.
So
Mary, did we get a trade-in value? Do you have any idea what the residual is on this? It's not that old. It's like 5 years, right?
no,
Oh,
no,
no.
no.
It's 13, 9
It's a
years.
13. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know what? I don't have that. I don't know if it. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
I don't think it would affect my vote, but I'd like to have that info.
Okay.
Leslie did say that there's sufficient funds in the ambulance fund and that she would be adjusting the accrual going forward, but it will be funded up for another ambulance on the schedule.
So this will be paid out of the ambulance fund. We're not
Correct.
taking this out of capital.
That's
Yes.
correct. Yeah. And so she said she would be hopefully have have funding for another ambulance for 5 to 6 years down the road.
Okay.
Jennifer,
The
go ahead.
balance currently is $740,731.90.
Yeah, I know, but we also use that ambulance fund for other.
Right.
So I'm not really sure how that all meshes, but if Leslie says it's there, we have pretty good.
Well, the monies are there. It's just a question of how much of those receipts the select board vote to use against the coming town budget.
Yep. No, you're right.
And do you know how much it was last year? Offhand?
I do not.
I do. Believe it or not. Last year, actual revenue analysis. And much budget transfers were $362,000 for fiscal year 14 and fiscal year 15, 400 for 16 and 17, 335 for 18, 275 for 19, 300 for 20, 350 for 21, and 300 for 22. FY23 400. So
and Leslie already contemplated the 400.
Saving for the
we've
next-
got the money.
saving for the next ambulance in 6 years at $5,000 a year in anticipation of a $325,000 purchase in FY 2024. This has been amended to set aside $61,000 a year for 6 years in anticipation of an increase in the cost due to the current supply chain inflation rates for an anticipated cost of $365,000. So probably talk to her about increasing that accrual even a little higher.
But Chris, in her note, does she basically say she contemplated the 400K to be used against this coming year's town budget? And that we've got clearance to do that? Or headspace, I guess I shouldn't say clearance.
Well, we're in fiscal year 2023, so it's already been.
24, sorry.
Oh, I don't think we have anything I don't think she's contemplated anything for fiscal year 24 yet. Because that won't be till springtime, so.
We
But
went
this-
through, this fear that the ambulance receipts were in decline. And in 2019, you said they were under 300,000, but they've since come back, right? So we're.
No, that's ambulance. Those are budget transfers for our
that wasn't
operating budget.
receipt. Okay.
As far as revenue analysis, so we did, it looks like it's been going up actually, according to this. I should have shot this out to you. Revenues in 15 were 359, 394 and 16, 452 and 17. 415 and 18, 483 and 19, 444 and 20, and 481 in 21.
Okay.
So they've actually been going the other way. So I would think we're probably more of an ambulance service than anything else at this point.
That's what the chief used to say, right?
Yeah,
Ambulance
Yes.
Service that occasionally puts out a fire.
right. All right. Responds. Yeah. So do we need
Chris,
any?
I'll make a motion that we endorse this for the capital article.
Yeah, good.
Okay, great. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. And Ray, the motion will read that it will be funded through ambulance receipt, through the
Yeah.
ambulance receipts. reserve fund,
Absolutely,
right,
yes.
ambulance fund. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Pete Murphy.
Aye.
Okay, Ray Burkhalter,
Aye.
Mary Foley,
Aye.
Paul Bonson.
I,
All right, Chris Berglund, aye. Great, thanks.
All right.
All right, so this has been 2 hours now, so I think while I appreciate everybody's undivided attention, I really feel like I've abused the privilege of of your time. So I'll indulge you all for one quick, what's your schedule for next Monday look like?
Monday,
I should be good.
October the 3rd. Looks good. October the 3rd, that's what we're talking about.
I'm available.
I'm available.
Okay, Pete, Ray, Paul. Mary, how are you?
I'm not sure.
Oh, come on, jeez. We can do a Zoom if you like. That'll be even better,
Yeah,
right?
well, I would prefer a Zoom. I may not be able to attend in
Okay.
person, given my daughter's COVID.
Okay, so we'll do,
problem.
I'll make sure
So-
we have Zoom through Faye. I'll email her right now.
Okay.
Because I know that it's a hot request in this town, but, all right, so let's plan for 6 o'clock. Is that good? 6 PM?
Yes. Mhm.
Yep.
All right, and
Okay.
I'll reach out to, or Mary, if you would be so kind as to reach out to the chief.
Yes. What do you, oh,
And-
yes, I'll reach out to
Yeah,
the
and
chief.
just tell him we're meeting, we can put, Paul, can you reach out to Kevin too and see if he would care to appear on the DPW's behalf for truck 2?
Yep. Yep.
And we can reach out to the chief. I will take, we'll take, let's say the DPW at 6:05 and the fire chief at 6:15. How's that?
Okay.
And the other thing I'd like to do at that point is just go over the warrant, which I think is shorter than what you guys saw, so that's good.
Good.
Jennifer, anything else that you can,
Nope. We're down to 13 articles on the warrant, so
good.
we've narrowed it down from 16.
So capital will be the big one, I'm sure. That's always, that's it. But all right, great. So I'll post a meeting for next Monday, 6 PM Zoom. If there's any other business, speak now. Or if you don't have any other business, I'll. entertain a
Move to
motion.
adjourn.
Great, thanks, Ray. Second, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, do
All
we need to vote? Do we need a voice vote on that too, Jennifer? Yes, Pete Murphy,
Everything.
Aye.
Mary Foley,
Aye.
okay, Paul Bonson,
I.
Ray Burkhalter,
Goodbye, aye.
Chris Berglund, aye. Thank you all very much, everyone. I know it's a long meeting, but I think we got a lot done, so that was great. And thanks
Thanks a
for
lot, Chris, for getting this
Thanks.
all the
all
good
together.
Have a good
information.
night.
Well done.
Thanks. Have a
Thanks.
good night.